was kissing you with my eyes open, but you said keep them closed.
Hi guys! Welcome ladies, gentlemen, Steve Buscemi. So today I'm going to be talking about falsettos for this musical mukbang because it is Pride Month. So today I have a 4-cheese penne with like chicken tenders, I think, from Applebee's. We have bread. So it's 1979 and we're in New York City. So we're first introduced to Marvin, Jason, Whizzer, and Mendel. Jason is Marvin's son. Whizzer is Marvin's partner. Mendel is Marvin's psychiatrist. And we get introduced to Trina, who is Marvin's ex-wife. So Marvin explains that he left his wife Trina for Whizzer because he was unhappy in the marriage because he's gay. So he talks to his psychiatrist about it and all of this stuff. Now, Marvin explains that he left Trina for Whizzer, who is his male lover, and, oh, my bacon. And everyone is kind of weirded out by his attempts to make, like, Whizzer part of the family. Marvin suggests to his ex-wife Trina, he's like, this isn't an easy time for any of us. You should go see my psychiatrist and talk about how you feel about everything going on and stuff like that. So she goes to Mendel and she talks to him about how she feels about the whole arrangement, how she's upset, how she doesn't understand how he left her when, you know, she thinks that she did everything she could to like make a perfect marriage and stuff. So Mendel, the psychiatrist, right off the bat is like, she's kind of cute though. And so he starts to like her. After hearing how she feels about all of this, he's like, Trina, it's fine. It's not your fault. Like, you don't have to blame yourself for this marriage. Like, you don't have to beat yourself up about it so much. While this is happening, Marvin is with his lover / partner, more like a lover in this point of the show, Whizzer. They're discussing how they're very, very different. They're very much opposites, but they're still attracted to each other. They still like each other. But they worry that this, right off the bat, like, you know, opposites attract attraction isn't going to last very long. So now, Marvin goes to his psychiatrist, talks about how he feels about his relationship with Whizzer and his relationship with his ex. Now, while this is going on, he's like trying to understand like all this stuff about Whizzer and talk to the psychiatrist about it. And then he starts talking about his wife. And then because Mendel likes his wife, it kind of shows in their like talks because he's like asking weird questions that you wouldn't have to ask because he's a psychiatrist. Like, he's acting like he likes her. Now, while this is happening, Marvin's son, Jason, the son he had with Trina, like, struggles to deal with the fact that his father's gay. Because in his eyes, you know, he's a kid. He feels like, oh, if my dad's gay, will I be gay? Like, you know, like, he sees it as like it's genetic. After Marvin's psychiatrist visit, him and Trina decide to take Jason to meet the psychiatrist that they both now have, because Jason has frequent mood swings and he's dealing with all of this. He appears to be taking all of this a lot harder than they are. Maybe because he's a kid, like they want him to be as normalized with this as possible and get him to, relax. So after Jason agrees to see the psychiatrist, Marvin and Whizzer start arguing because Whizzer is not really into being a monogamous. Like, he sees them more as lovers. Marvin wants to be more of like a couple. So they argue about that. But while that's happening, Trina is making dinner and she feels like Whizzer's taking her spot in the family, because when they're trying to get Jason to go see the psychiatrist, instead of asking for his mom's advice, he asks, well, I'll decide based on what Whizzer says. And she's like weirded out that he wants Whizzer's input, because she's like, he's not part of the family, you should be asking your mom. So she's basically having a mental breakdown. Mental breakdowns are always fun, because Jason is a little skeptical about this whole like therapy thing. Trina's like, yo, Mendel, you should come to our house and help our son, because he'll be like weirded out if he goes to like an office for a therapist or a psychiatrist, whatever he is. And so when Mendel has the frequent visits to help Jason cope through everything that's going on, he has like a cute little bond with Jason. They become closer, and he, through that, becomes closer to his mom, Trina, who he actually likes. So he starts liking her. She kind of starts liking him. And then he pops the question. He does a really bad job of it, but he asks her to marry him. And she says, okay. So Marvin's upset. He starts getting like a little bit jealous that Trina has someone else, which is stupid because he has someone else, but that's fine. But he starts getting a little bit jealous. Then Trina gets a little bit upset because her life is pretty much male dominated. She has to deal with her ex-husband and her ex-husband's lover and her new fiance and her son. Like, there are just too many dicks around it. It's really annoying her. Too many guys in your life. Just, that's not good, sis. So then, Marvin and Whizzer are playing chess. Whizzer's not very good, so Marvin's trying to help him out. But while they play chess, they start to argue about seemingly nothing. But they argue and they break up. So after they break up, Whizzer's leaving, and Whizzer like reflects on his whole life as a whole and realizes that like his entire life guys have only been really using him for his looks, and that he doesn't want to like live like that, being like tossed around from like guy to guy who is just seemingly interested in the fact that he's cute. So Marvin's already upset from the breakup, from the engagement, and then Mendel and Trina start living together, and Marvin gets the invitation to their wedding and freaks out. And so he comes into their house and he's like, ah! Like, he's so mad. And while he's angry, he slaps Trina. And that's not cute. After this, everyone's like, this guy's crazy. Because Jason's there, Mendel's there, Trina's there, obviously, because he hit her. So they all start like talking, and they just talk about like how they didn't mean for any of this to happen, and that, you know, we just gotta get through. Like, yeah, Trina's starting to date your psychiatrist, but you left her, sis, so go away. So Jason starts realizing he starts to like girls, And Jason's like, thank God I'm not gay like my dad. And then Marvin starts talking to Jason, giving him advice and talking to him because he's learned a lot from the failed relationship, not only with Jason's mom, Trina, but now with Whizzer. And so Marvin basically tells Jason that no matter what, no matter who he turns out to be, that he'll always be there for them and that he always will love them. Ah. Next act. So now it's 2 years later, it's 1981, and the world is different. Ronald Reagan's the president. I wasn't there, so I don't know what that means, but he was. And Marvin gets new neighbors, a lesbian couple. So it's Dr. Charlotte and Cordelia. Cordelia is a non-Jewish, Jewish caterer. And Charlotte is a doctor. So Marvin has used this time to kind of grow up a little bit. He's kind of a bit of a mess. I don't know if you've noticed. But he uses this time to try to, be a new person. And so then he goes with Trina and her now husband, Mendel, and he brings his lesbian neighbors along to see a baseball game for his son, Jason. Also, Jason, it's now about the time that Jason's probably going to get a bar mitzvah, so they're talking about that. And Marvin is like, I haven't seen Whizzer since they broke up. So at this baseball game that Jason's at, I almost said performing at. I'm not athletic. Jason invites Whizzer because he likes Whizzer, they're friends, so he wanted him to come. So Whizzer comes, and after not seeing him for 2 years, as Jason's trying to play, Marvin's like, hey, wanna go out? So now, Marvin's back with Whizzer, and Charlotte's with, the neighbors Charlotte and Cordelia are together, and Trina is with Mendel. So everyone starts talking about, how good their lives are because they're all with who they're supposed to be with, and everything's Gucci. Now, while talking about the bar mitzvah, Jason's wondering which girls to invite, but then is like, I don't really know if I want this. There's a lot of stress. His parents are arguing about it a lot. And Mendel's talking to him, and he's like, it's okay. I know your parents are stressing you out, but parents do that. Parents suck. But it's okay. Everyone's parents suck. So, it's okay. So Marvin's in bed one morning, just looking at Whizzer, and he's like, I'm so in love with this guy. And it's really nice because, in my opinion, but yeah, Whizzer didn't really like monogamy, but in the first act when him and Marvin were together, in my, opinion, Marvin was more of the problem in the relationship, and I'm not the kind of person that likes to pin all of the problems or all of the issues in a relationship on one person, but Marvin would say a lot of mean things to Whizzer, and it's just nice to see how happy they are now. And especially the song, when he's talking about how much he loves Whizzer, it shows how much he's grown since they first broke up and how happy they are now. So then Dr. Charlotte comes home to her girlfriend, and she's like, this guy came into the hospital today with this sickness. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows what's going on. And it's stressing her out. And her girlfriend, Cordelia, she's like, it's fine. But Dr. Charlotte has an uneasy feeling about it because she's like, it's so weird. No one can explain it. Yummy. Can someone answer the damn phone? Thank you. So while playing racquetball, Marvin and Whizzer are playing, and Whizzer collapses and is rushed to the hospital. And while hearing about this, Trina gets like really upset. And at first she's kind of weirded out about how upset she is, because she's like, this is the guy who basically was a home wrecker in my life. Like, he stole my husband. But she knows that they love each other, and she's like actually really like upset by the fact that Whizzer might not be okay. So everyone goes to the hospital to try to cheer Whizzer up, and everything's good. But then Trina and Mendel sit Jason down, and they tell him, they're like, look, buddy, you're a kid, like, you shouldn't have to deal with this, but Whizzer might not recover from this, like, he might not be okay, because he's a kid, you know, he's probably thinking that he's just like a little sick, that he'll get better. But they're saying maybe he won't, you know? So they give him the option of maybe canceling their bar mitzvah, because he's not in the mood. Obviously the family's not in the mood, they're going through all of this. And then Cordelia and Charlotte go into the hospital room with Marvin and Whizzer, and they sing and talk about, you know, how in love they all are and how unlikely it is. And so Jason then chooses to have his bar mitzvah with Whizzer in the hospital. So in the room, they're having like a fake bar mitzvah. Cordelia caters, and her food actually tastes good, because it's like a gag in the whole show that whenever she cooks something, it tastes like garbage. So Dr. Charlotte explains to Marvin that, you know, he's probably not going to make it. So Whizzer is in his hospital room, and he's like, I'm probably going to die. And it's really sad and upsetting, and he's trying to deal with it how he best can, because like when someone is like, you're basically gonna die, like, I don't know how you respond, but he's trying to figure out how to respond. But so since he had the bar mitzvah in his room, they have it and everything's good. But while it's going on, Whizzer collapses once again. He's taken out, so is Marvin, and it just gets real sad, guys. So Marvin is dealing with it, and he's like talking to the air, like to the departed Whizzer, because she's dead now. And Marvin's like, what would everything have been if we hadn't loved each other? Like, if this whole affair turned into being really, really in love with each other, if it didn't happen. And then Whizzer's spirit comes and asks Marvin if he regrets it, because, you know, him going off with Whizzer like kind of ruined the family unit. And he's like, no, I don't regret it at all. And he says that he would do it all over again. So then they all come and console Marvin, since Whizzer is now dead. And everyone's really sad. And then Mendel comes out and he's like, you know what? This is where we take a stand. And it's like a whole thing, kind of like Rent, but it just shows them like how powerful this time period for the LGBTQ community was, and how crazy it was. And it's a really good show. You guys should watch it. There's like a really professional version that you guys can probably find on like YouTube if you look it up. I had a really good time being here with you guys. I wanted to do a show like this for Pride Month.
Now I know what you're thinking. Why does your camera always cut out your outros? Ask my camera. But anyways, so I just basically said like, happy Pride Month. I listened to Girl in Red. That I hope you guys like the video. I have a lot of new ideas for videos coming up. I'm really excited for summer, and like around now people are starting to go out here on Long Island, so maybe I'll be able to do like vlogs like I used to. And yeah, so thank you for watching. Love you guys.
You like jazz?